Hello YouTube, I am Joe. Today we are going to talk rivet guns. Alright, there's so many different things we can chat here about, but let's start with what your project is. Do you have something soft that's going to be put together, or is it hard? That will determine whether you're going to need a backer washer on your rivet. And you can see in these examples here, this is an expanding rivet of a different type, and no washer was used. So on its way to opening, it pulled itself partway right into the plastic. Not only that, it didn't expand radially like the other ones did with the backer washer. So I'm not really a big fan of these. I'm sure they have a spot in life, but to me I'm not sure where that is. They're very sharp. If you pull on them hard enough from the back side, they will all close up and pull out. So I'm not sure why someone would really want that. Must be a really light duty application. The next is the standard rivet. And again, using a backer washer in a soft material will keep that rivet from pulling right through. If you don't use that backer washer, there's a really good chance that it'll just pull the rivet completely through the plastic right out the back and then pop once the rivet's been expanded all the way and ruined your project. So these backer washers are very important on a soft substrate. If you're using them on standard metal, no problem. Use the tightest drill you can get by with, and that'll be your safest bet. Next, let's talk about grip range. If you take a rivet, let's say this length, and you want to use it in this material, you'd be good to go. You have enough sticking out that once it swells up, the actual button itself will be contained by the rivet that's closing in on itself. And what I'm saying there is that this button won't take off as you pop the rivet and just fly. Because if it does, and it's not in the middle anymore, if you put a good load on the back side of this rivet, it will close that rivet up and pull it right out. So what I would do, if I have a rivet that I'm putting in that's steel versus aluminum, and I really need the strength, that's why I use steel, then what I'll do, if this isn't a big deal, is I'll close over the head a little more with the pliers, just to make sure that that little button can never pull out of there. Because if the button never comes out, then it can't close up and pull through, and you'll lose the fastener. So just something to watch. If you use too short of a grip range, and that rivet's barely coming out the back side, you can guarantee when it pops, you're going to lose the end piece, and that won't be a strong rivet. So give yourself a little bit of extra room, and you'll have a much stronger riveting surface. Next, let's talk about large flange, small flange. What flange do I need? These are more supportive. Obviously, this radial huge flange is going to be able to take a heck of a load compared to, well, something like this. But at the same time, well, that one's actually bent from the factory. How nice. But at the same time, these flanges can also look obtrusive. What is the purpose you need it for? Does it have to be hidden, or can it be large flange? So these are decisions you have to make. Next, it's what diameter do you need? Do you need the small one? Do you need the large one? Well, it's all about the load you're going to put on the rivet. Demanding applications will always need a steel rivet of beefy proportion, if you will. Less demanding applications, you can go to the smaller rivets. You can go to the aluminum. It's all about what you need. Then let's talk about the riveter itself. What kind of riveter do I need? Well, I would say based on the average, most people use something like this. This happens to be an Arrow model RHT 300. This was found on Columbus's boat. It is an old unit. I don't know if they're still made. What I do like about it is the head, that you can get into just about anywhere and have this work. Pretty darn handy if you ask me. The next thing we'll talk about is if you have a lot of rivets to put in. If you have a lot of rivets to put in, you're probably going to need something with some bigger handles, some more leverage. And that is everything when it comes time to put in a lot of rivets. You need leverage for these steel rivets. They're actually hard to do if you have a lot of them to do. Then, if you have a whole ton of them to do, maybe you can afford something like this. Now, this is from offshore. These are very inexpensive. The only bad thing about getting one that's inexpensive like these is how long it takes for it to do a rivet. When you put in a rivet like this size, I will guarantee that you're going to have to pull this handle 2 to 3 times. Let off, pull, to get through this entire grip range. And that's because it's inexpensive. As soon as you go to the models that are so expensive it's insane, in one pull of the trigger it'll snap this no problem. So it's all about how much time it takes to do one rivet. If you want to save some money, it's going to take 2 or 3 pulls of the handle to finally pop the rivet. So that's something to watch for also. I didn't mention, but I will, all these little tips are interchangeable on your rivet guns. Every rivet gun's got probably 4 different selections of what size rivet mandrel it's going to accept in its jaws. So all you need to do is find what size fits on your gun and just install it in. And when you put them in, it's easiest if you put a load on the gun first and then unscrew and put it in. That way you won't have the backside guts of it forcing outward as you're trying to put this piece in there. It makes it a little easier. I guess the next thing we could talk about are these washers themselves. Do they have to be these special aluminum washers that have this thickness? No. They can be any washer you want of any type. They can be the ultra thin steel ones. They could be whatever you desire. So don't worry about that whatsoever. Another thing that's neat about these rivets, and something I didn't show here, is they have things called riv nuts. And you can literally take a rivet gun and put in this unit, squeeze it up, and the inside of the rivet that breaks free are now threads. So it's like a thread cert instantly that you can pop rivet into place. And you use aluminum mandrels that have a thread on the end. And you stick that right into your rivet gun, screw it onto the piece, and you just use it like a regular rivet. And when you're all done, you unscrew the mandrel, save it for the next one. It is so cool. I wish I had some to show you, but it's just something to think about next time you have a riveting project. You guys let me know what you think. Did I touch on everything? You take care.